With respect to health care, I'm actually continue to be confident that the Supreme Court will uphold the law. I just remind conservative commentators that for years what we've heard is the biggest problem on the bench was judicial activism or a lack of judicial restraint, that an unelected group of people would somehow overturn a duly constituted and passed law. Well, here's a good example.
Did he go to Harvard Law School? I mean, I'm sorry. Is there a drinking game at Harvard now? Every time the president says sans teleprompter, they have to take a swig of brew? I don't know. But this is the president now attacking the Supreme Court. I have never heard the president of the United States, while a case is being considered by another branch of government, the judicial branch, coming out as he did yesterday with this salvo, almost an implicit threat against sitting justices on the Supreme Court. You see, he's not going to be happy until he controls every branch of government. If only he were king. Remember the Lion King? You know, it'd be so great to be king. Well, he wants to be king. It's little Simba. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Joining us now, one of my dear friends, adore him, Donald Trump, chairman and president of the Trump Organization, and the star and founder of NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice, Donald. How are you?
Hello. I loved your little during that speech.
Jeez!
That was it was very cute. I shouldn't use that word, but it was very cute, Laura.
I don't mind at all.
Wow. Well, that was something, huh?
The president of the United States, he's the executive branch. Okay, there are three branches of government. He's the executive branch. Congress does its thing. Then there's the judicial branch. Yet, hearing him yesterday, Donald, not only does he get the understanding of judicial restraint wrong, but he sends this message almost to the justices: "Don't you dare! Don't you dare do this!" And I found it to be chilling, actually. Chilling and disturbing at the same time.
Very unusual, and it seems as though, and I will tell you from years of being in courts, you never know. You leave the court and you think you have a great signal from a judge. He says certain things and you think, wow, that's a winner. And then you don't win, and then you have the opposite, where you just get brutalized and you end up winning. So you can never really place too much credence on what the judges say, but boy, it would certainly seem that it's going to be overturned, wouldn't it?
Yes, I would have to bet that today, but again, it is hard since I clerked there, and we often predicted what was going to happen. We had little internal discussions among the law clerks, and we often got it wrong. So you really can't determine it ahead of time. But for the president of the United States to not only implicitly warn the justices, but also it just seems so wrong and so petty to be raising the issue of conservative commentators. Clearly, we all get under his skin. And he just hates the fact that there's anyone out there who criticizes him or questions him about anything.
Well, I hope it doesn't have a chilling effect on what you heard the other day, because, frankly, they were right on, and I think it's hard to believe that this law would be passed. I don't think it will be. It depends on whether everything's going to be struck down or the mandate's going to be struck down, but hopefully I think the mandate's going to mean everything, frankly, and I think that there's a good chance that the whole thing will be struck down and the nation can get back to work.
Now, businesses can have some certainty on the horizon and won't have to worry about yet another regulatory anvil piled on the shoulders of business in the United States.
Well, there are so many ideas that are so much better than Obamacare. I mean, if you take away the restrictions so that people could compete for life insurance and for insurance, just general insurance. If you took away the restrictions are all, unbelievable. My company in New York, I can't go outside of New York State boundaries. I have much better companies outside of the state, and yet they want to compete, but they're not allowed to because they can't come into the state of New York. Why can't strong financial companies, even if they're in Europe, compete for health care? Now, you have to make sure that the companies are strong. That would be the one thing the government should do. They have to set very strong guidelines as to the strength of a company, not that you pay and pay and pay, and then you find out when you need the health care there's no money in the company. but we would have great health care if just you did that one thing, took away this monopoly. And the reason you have the monopoly is because the insurance companies control Congress through their wonderful lobbyists, and it's a very sad thing. But just that one thing would give us, in my opinion, really great health care at a very reduced cost.
Donald, the report out today, and again, you take it with a grain of salt, but is that the Romney camp is reconsidering how it positions the candidate due to this concern, I think oftentimes driven by the media, who don't want him to prevail over Obama, but this concern that he doesn't quite connect with people as he needs to connect on a human level. And my question to you, as someone who knows branding as well as anyone, if not better than most people in business, do you think that's the right way to go for Romney, to embark on this I'm a human campaign, and I guess sharing personal anecdotes and trying to be more personal? Is that going to fit with Romney's experience and background?
No, I think all he has to do is be himself. I've gotten to know him really well over the last 6 months, and in fact, we're having a birthday party at my apartment for his wife, who's phenomenal, a phenomenal woman. And we're having a little birthday party for her at the apartment, a fundraiser birthday party, and it's going to be great. But, if he just would be himself and maybe stop listening to all the geniuses that surround him, I think that this guy has got the greatest way and the greatest manner and the greatest personality. And, sometimes you go in and they say, do this, do that, do different things. And this happens to a lot of candidates, not all candidates, but a lot of candidates. And it doesn't come off as real as it should be. He's a very real person. He's a great guy. He's a very smart guy. And he can be very, very tough if he has to be, and that's what we need. But he's a good person, and I really think all he has to do is be himself. He doesn't have to listen to anybody, just be himself, and he's going to do fantastically well. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to get the nomination. I mean, that hopefully Santorum will decide
clear.
That it's enough time. He's wasted enough time and money on this whole thing. But I think he'll get the nomination. I think he will beat Obama in a tough race, but the race will be very dependent on what happens with oil prices.
The president last night, of course, is much more comfortable doing halftime interviews with sports commentators, because then he doesn't have to answer questions about the record-breaking trade deficit we have with China or the record-breaking amount of debt he's piled onto our treasury in the 3 years that he's been in office. So he's comfortable in that milieu, using the entertainment and sports platforms.
That was a love fest between those two guys. There's no question about that.
So in giving advice to Mitt Romney today, given what you know about branding and entertainment and connecting with people, your one-sentence piece of advice for him would be what? Just
be yourself. I've really gotten to know him well. He's just an amazing guy, great guy.
But why does he keep making these? Why does he keep making these? I don't think gaffes, but these statements that then can be cut and pasted, whether it's, I like firing people, or I know all the NASCAR, team owners.
A lot of those statements, like the I like firing people, what he was talking about was insurance companies, and he was talking about them, and
But you can't say that. If you can say that because you're the host of The Apprentice. When you say I like firing people, it's fun.
In all fairness, it's very unfair, because they took that statement, I like firing people, and then if you go on, it's what he meant to say, and what he was saying, actually, not what he meant to say, we know
what he was saying.
Was insurance company. The problem is the media cut it off when he said, I like firing people.
No, of course. So but he knows has to be smarter than that, Donald, though, doesn't he? Because he knows they're going to do that.
You do have to say it's very unfair reporting.
Of course it is, but they're going to be unfair.
Yes, they're going to be unfair. There's no question about it. And the other thing is, you make thousands and thousands of statements and sentences and paragraphs, and during the course of a day, and they take one little word that could be construed or misconstrued, and they make it into a big deal. I mean, to me, Obama makes some unbelievable mistakes. When he was in England and he signed the wrong date by 2 years, he put the wrong year, and nobody even mentioned it. They thought it was
57 states. Yeah, he referred to the 57 states.
Right, when he started making the toast during their anthem, and the Queen looked at him like, what the hell are you doing? Shut up. She really gave him a stare, and nobody made a big deal. Everyone thought it was so wonderful. They thought it was great. Now, if Bush ever signed the wrong date by 2 years, they would have said,
no, never forget it.
He suffered from a big problem. But Obama does it, and they think it was so wonderful, so cute, so nice. And then when he made the speech during the anthem with the Queen, I mean, I've never forgot the look. She looked at him like, what the hell are you doing? And nobody made a big deal out of that.
Speaking of that, and since you're going to have Anne's birthday party at your apartment, this is the clip that's making the rounds today. Play the first Anne Romney. Let's listen.
Things, Anne Romney, that folks talk about is the fact that sometimes that your husband, he appears stiff. Do you have to fight back some critics like, my husband isn't stiff, okay?
Well, I guess we better unzip him and let the real Mitt Romney out, because he is not. It is so funny to me that is the perception out there.
Well, unzip him, of course. Katie Couric and the crowd is tittering about that today over at ABC.
She just means let him out, let him get out there, sort of like me, just be himself, and that's all that means. And only, I don't know, that I can't imagine that was controversial. I can't even imagine that.
Hey Donald, do you think...
They'll take an expression like that, which is loving and wonderful and nice.
Cute.
And very supportive of a great woman and a great wife, and they try and make it into a negative, and it's not a negative. And I think the voters understand that. That was very nice.
Bill Clinton yesterday was out there saying that Barack Obama is going to get reelected because people perceive the economy to be getting better. If indeed people perceive the economy to be getting better, how does Mitt Romney beat Barack Obama?
Well, it's tougher. There's no question about it. If the economy is in fact getting better, and
you think it is
getting better, but I think the mainstream economy is not getting better. But if the economy is getting better, it's a much tougher job. There's no question about it. Look, an incumbent president, anybody that has an economy that's getting better or perceived to be getting better, or if it's good, is pretty much difficult to beat. Now, we'll see whether or not it gets better, because I think it is getting better, but it's very fragile. If oil prices go up, the economy will absolutely, perhaps hit the skids, really hit the skids. If interest rates go up, the same thing will happen. So you have oil, you have interest, and you have the potential of wars. I mean, we're looking at Iran. I happen to think that the president is going to start a war with Iran. I think it'll be a short-term popular thing to do, and I think he's going to do that for political reasons. You want to know the truth. I don't know if anybody says it is openly, but I think he's going to start a war with Iran, and that'll be short-term popular. If you remember Bush was unbeatable for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden the world set in when he attacked Iraq. And he went from very popular to not popular at all. But I think that Obama will start in some form a war with Iran, and I think that'll make him very popular for a short period of time. So that will make him hard to beat also.
Hey, Donald, I have to ask you a couple of non-political questions. First of all, I know you're very distraught, and I hate bringing this up because it's a sad subject for you, and look, this is an upbeat show, but Rosie O'Donnell's show canceled. How are you getting by with that news?
It's devastating news. I thought it was such a wonderful show. It's devastating news that it was canceled. Devastating. She's a great talent. I think she's the greatest agent in all of show business, because every time she gets canceled, they rehire her. It's amazing. Most people, after you had about 12 failures in a row, it's over. But she keeps coming out. Somebody else will hire. Some moron that's running some kind of a network will hire her yet again, and it'll fail yet again.
Well, there are a lot of people out there like that. I mean, Keith Olbermann never had ratings in cable television. Not really. I mean, comparatively to Fox and so forth. But he kept getting hired, and apparently he keeps getting huge payouts like he got at Al Gore's Current TV.
Somebody said $10 million, right? He got $10 million.
Yeah. So who's the stupid one here? That's pretty. I guess that's pretty smart in the end. He gets 1 year and $10 million. Well,
if he got $10 million, you have to hand it to him. I'll tell you that. That's pretty good.
And what about? Do you feel like you've broken new ground with this? What is it, Miss Universe Canada? Someone just sent me some. I guess the transgender, transsexual. I don't know.
It became a big deal up in Canada, and you have the Miss Canada, which is essentially the Miss Universe. It's the pre-Miss Universe. That's the screening for Miss Universe, and a woman transgender was in, and it's been a very complicated and very difficult situation up there, I will tell you, for the Miss Canada. And they've decided, because of the laws or the way the laws are written, to let her participate. And not everybody agrees with that, and a lot of people do agree. I mean, I get I get letters both ways. Thank you very much, and I get letters the other way.
Yeah, it gets confusing, right? I mean, so it's a man.
Very confusing.
It's a man,
confusing.
But it's a woman.
No, it's a very confusing thing. But there's many contestants, and they agreed to let her, based on the laws of Canada and the laws of the United States, they agreed to let her participate. So I will say this, there's great interest, and if you look at it from a show business standpoint, that's wonderful, but there is certainly great interest, Laura.
Well, is there a cultural impact? I guess that's the question a lot of other people are going to have.
Would you have allowed her to participate?
You know something? I have to manage.
I want to put you on the spot.
I have to manage to screw up my own orbit here enough before I get into your territory. Okay, I'm going to try to master talk radio.
Because you can take some of the heat.
Yeah, right. Thanks a lot, Donald. I appreciate it. I just love seeing your world. Hey, and I'm going to show up at your club today, so I hope they're going to treat me right.
Oh, that's good. Where are you talking about, Laura?
In Palm Beach. I'm going to Mar-a-Lago with some friends.
That's right. I heard that yesterday. They will treat you so beautifully. Good. You go have a good time, okay?
All right. You take care,
Donald. Let me know how you like it.
I will, Donald
And then
Trump.
you'll give me your answer on the transgender, okay?
Okay,
I expect you to make a big announcement.
Okay, we're going to take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. Don't go away.